Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. Today, we're going to talk about scammers in online trading card game transactions, in Facebook groups, Discord messages. We're going to get into it. We are in the holiday season, which means that people are, they need money. People they have to, get presents for their kids. They get a little bit desperate right now. This turns into a season of desperation for some people. And what we are seeing currently right now in the Sorcery TCG marketplace is a influx of scammers. And this is not just a sorcery related incident. All this stuff probably applies to every, different trading card game or community or whatever. But we're seeing it right now in Sorcery, I think as a result of Sorcery's community being so fresh and so new. It's more susceptible to scammers because the history of the community is not really built yet. You don't have that kind of repertoire. You're seeing it a little bit, but you don't have that kind of history of knowledge of individuals and transaction reports and reference pages and that kind of stuff. So today in this video, I want to talk about what to be on the lookout for when you are shopping around on the Facebook groups or the Discord messages. And then I want to give you a couple best practices that I have put in place in my life to prevent myself from getting scammed. So that's the goal of the video. I think, again, it does apply to Sorcery and then it applies to all the other card games as well. So first off, why shop on Facebook instead of Discord why shop on Facebook or Discord instead of like TCG Player or eBay? Well, the number one reason is that oftentimes the prices are more accurate on Facebook and Discord than on TCG Player and eBay. TCG Player and eBay, most sellers, they list their product for what they think it's worth, and then maybe they set some automated pricing tools, and unless they're not really doing last sold or based off whatever. Usually, when you sell something on Facebook, you are actively looking to sell it in the next 2 to 3 days. A lot of TCG Player and eBay is like, hey, I want to throw my inventory up there and see what happens. And so oftentimes on Facebook and on Discord, you're going to get the most accurate price. That is, in my experience anyway, the way that things are. And so that is the why you shop there. But then you open yourself up to a lot of scams. So first I want to get into some of the risk, like the things I look out for. And number one, we saw this week in Sorcery. Anytime that there is a sales post of which the seller disables comments, that is a huge red flag. It's a massive, massive red flag. Now, why is it a red flag? Number one, the reason that sellers do that is they get a little bit of interest in the item. Then they disable the comments so that you can't, when you see the post, you can't be like, oh man, I missed out. That person got it. That person, said PM, and I'm sure it's sold. If you don't see those comments, then what you do is you message the person and say, hey, can I buy this product? So you have no history. If they turn off comments, you have no history that somebody else has already purchased this item, and then that scammer's one post turns into a plethora of other scams. And so anytime I see a post with the comment section off, it's a red flag to me. It also prevents somebody from saying, hey, I bought this. It also prevents somebody from saying, hey, I got scammed by this. It kind of opens the door it closes the door, for people who got scammed to report the scam. So that's the number one red flag. Anytime I see that, I just instantly assume that it's a scam and I move along on my business. Number two, generic photos and accounts, things that have really, now I know a lot of people create fake Facebook accounts just for their, their sales, and they don't want to use their personal account because whatever, I get that. But generic accounts to me are a red flag. Generic accounts that have like no actual profile picture, no actual interaction, where you can't see, you can't Facebook stalk them. I don't know, when I'm about to send somebody $2,000 on a Facebook transaction, I like to kind of Facebook stalk them a little bit, see if they're a normal person, see if their account's 2 days old, right? Like if it's a brand new account, that's a huge red flag. But also if it's a really generic name with a really generic profile picture, that sends some red flags that, again, maybe I'll still interact with that person or try to purchase something, but maybe I'll be a little bit more cautious rather than somebody who's like, this is me, this is my family, this is like, you can see that they are, a person that might be trustworthy. So those are the first two things I look at. And now I want to get into some of the best practices. Because again, the goal here is to give you some things to walk away from so that you can interact in these marketplaces in a healthy way and not get scammed. So number one, you need to, if you do not have this and you are planning on shopping on Facebook or Discord, you need to have an active reference page, and then you need to use it. I have one for Magic the Gathering, and I think eventually we will see like a Sorcery reference page Facebook group. That'll happen eventually. But right now, a Magic the Gathering reference page is good enough, especially for this channel. Anybody who's watching this probably involved in Magic, Sorcery. Most people will join a new group to see it. You can also screenshot. But Magic the Gathering, if you just search on the Facebook groups, Magic the Gathering reference page, right? You can create a thread for yourself that then you can send people to go to say, hey, we did a good transaction. Will you give me a one-up on the thread? And then you have a history. So like on mine, I have a history of probably 50 different transactions of people saying, yeah, Louie's good to go. You can deal with him with confidence, whatever. You build that reference page up, and once you get to 5 to 10, I mean, it's if somebody can actively, do 5 to 10 transactions without an issue, to me that says to me, hey, this person is trustworthy, and I can do business with them or whatever. And so you have that reference thread, and then when you're negotiating with somebody on Facebook, or when you come to a conclusion or come to a deal, you just send them your reference page, and this is the kicker: you have to use your reference page. You say, hey, we came to a deal. I have a reference page. Here are my references. Do you have one as well? And if that person says, no, I don't have a reference page, this is your chance to say, well, hey, I have a reference page. Would you mind sending your stuff first? When I get it, I will then send mine along to you if you're trading. Or you can say, hey, can I put up 10% to secure it, and then when I receive it, I'll pay you the other 10%. Or maybe it's just as simple as the second option I'm going to go into is using PayPal goods and services so you don't get scammed. But I would never, ever, ever, ever trust somebody who had no reference pages to send their cards at the same time that I am sending my cards as somebody with a lot of references. The point of a reference page is it's almost like a social... I don't want to get too legalistic with it, but it's almost like a social contract of like, look, the social people have told everybody that I'm trustworthy. You do not have that, and such. I get a little bit more of a benefit than you do in terms of the risk. You're limiting your risk, and if you have a Facebook reference page, you get to limit your risk in a way that somebody that doesn't have a Facebook reference page doesn't get to do. And that's the second side of this, using goods and services. PayPal's great. I've only had 1 or 2 transactions in my life that I've ever had to, that I would have gotten scammed. Both of them, I did exactly what I'm talking about right here. And I used goods and services in this instance, and I was able to utilize PayPal to get my money back. Now, I think if you abuse that, if you do it too many times, maybe it puts red flags on you. So I would not only rely on goods and services. I would definitely, rely on utilizing the reference pages and that kind of stuff, just like I just talked about. But using goods and services, I think, is imperative if the person doesn't have a reference page. Now, I don't want to get too legalistic with this either. Like, I oftentimes send people with friends and family. If you have a reference page, or if you are somebody that I can remember from the community, the Sorcery community is great because it's so tight-knit right now that you can kind of know who's real, who's not real based on the conversations happening. And so if it's somebody that I recognize, somebody that I trust, I have no problem sending friends and family. That is the best way to do business, in my opinion, on Facebook, is to send that way. But if they don't have references, you've got to utilize that goods and service thing. And then this last thing, the last best practice that I need to do a better job of, but it's definitely something that you should do, is to have a log of your transactions and have a log of what you are waiting on. Even if it's just like a note in your phone that's like the person's name and what you're waiting on, right? So that when you, every day when you go to the post office or when you get your packages in the mail and you open up your boxes and you open up your cards or whatever, you can mark off, yeah, I actually received this, and it's like a mental note. And maybe it's like I've been doing a lot of transactions lately, but sometimes I forget. I like completely forget that something should be on the way to me. And so by having a log of like, hey, I paid this person, write it down, I've got a log that I'm waiting on something from them so that you don't forget. Because like the easiest way to scam somebody is that you sell them something and then they forget that they bought it, right? That's like the easiest way to get scammed. And so having a log of what you're waiting on, or what you even, this works really well if you're selling too. Make sure you have a log of the money that came in, and remind yourself to ship it out. Because a lot of times, maybe it's late at night, you're making a deal, you wake up in the morning and you forget that you need to ship something out. Usually the person will remind you, that kind of stuff. But having a log of your transactions goes a long way. And it allows yourself to have the peace of mind that you won't forget that you have cards or something on the way in. So be on the lookout for scams, for people who are, looking to take advantage of the new communities and that kind of stuff. And remember to protect yourself using some of those best practices. Have yourselves a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video.